you look at the greatest architects of Formula One history, men like Enzo Ferrari, Ron Dennis, or Frank Williams, you see brilliant engineers and ruthless businessmen. You see people who built legacies, often through sheer force of will, but none of them faced a crisis quite like the one that engulfed Christian Horner. In 2024 and 2025, he survived the biggest scandal of his career, emerging twice cleared, but globally scrutinized. His political maneuvering was legendary, but his dismissal ultimately proved the limits of even his survival skills. How does a man remain the face of a championship team after such internal chaos? To understand his ruthless survival, you must understand his improbable, calculated start. The driver who quit. Before Christian Horner became the face of Red Bull Racing, he was a young driver chasing a dream he would never achieve. He began his career the way countless aspiring racers do, fighting for scholarships, climbing the junior ladder, and dreaming of Formula One glory. In 1991, he earned a prestigious Formula Renault scholarship. He raced in British Formula 2, and eventually he arrived at Formula 3000, the final proving ground before Formula One. But 1997 told him a truth he couldn't ignore. He wasn't fast enough. Horner lacked that last 1% of brilliance, the rare magic that drivers like Alonso, Verstappen and Senna possess. His results in F3000 were disappointing, and his place in the championship standings made it painfully clear. He wouldn't reach Formula One as a driver. It was his first great moment of self-awareness, and it became the foundation of every strategic decision he would ever make. Instead of clinging to a fading dream, he quit driving at just 24 years old. He stepped out of the cockpit, removed the helmet, and walked willingly into a future he would build with his mind rather than his hands. It was the first time he chose strategy over emotion, and that choice would define the rest of his life. Arden International. The moment Christian Horner stepped away from driving, he transformed himself into an entrepreneur. With his father's support, and reportedly with borrowed money, he launched Arden International, a team created to compete in Formula 3000. This was his first empire, and it taught him every ruthless skill he would later use in Formula One. Arden wasn't just a racing team, it was a battlefield disguised as a business. Horner learned how to sign sponsors, negotiate contracts, attract engineering talent, and build competitive infrastructure from the ground up. He learned how to cut costs without sacrificing performance. And he learned how to win. Arden eventually became a 3-time F3000 championship team. This success put Horner on the radar of Bernie Ecclestone, the godfather of Formula One politics. Ecclestone immediately recognized what others had not yet seen. Behind Horner's polite charm was a razor-sharp operator. Horner didn't wait for opportunities, he created them, and that ambition was about to be rewarded. Becoming the youngest team principal in Formula One. When Red Bull bought Jaguar Racing in 2005, Dietrich Mateschitz wanted a revolution. He wanted a young leader, someone bold, ambitious, unconventional, and so he picked a 31-year-old with no Formula One experience and gave him control of an entire team. The paddock laughed. Many predicted he would fail, but Christian Horner proved he was not there to play. His first major move was a masterstroke. He convinced Adrian Newey, the greatest aerodynamicist in F1 history, to leave McLaren and join Red Bull. This single decision defined the next 2 decades of the sport. Newey brought genius. Horner brought structure, stability, and political armor. Their partnership became the engine behind every championship the team would win. Under Horner's leadership, Red Bull went from being a party team to a championship contender, and then from a contender to a dynasty. The glory years. From 2010 to 2013, Red Bull Racing dominated Formula One. Vettel won 4 consecutive world titles. The team crushed its rivals with innovation, teamwork, and Newey's aerodynamic mastery. But beneath the triumph was a boiling conflict. Sebastian Vettel versus Mark Webber. The rivalry exploded in Malaysia during the infamous Multi-21 incident. Vettel ignored team orders and overtook his teammate for the win. It was a moment that revealed everything about Horner's team leadership style. He always chose long-term performance over short-term peace. He managed the conflict, swallowed the internal chaos, and kept the titles flowing. For Horner, the politics were just as important as the engineering. It was the first major civil war he survived. It wouldn't be the last. The Wolff rivalry and the rise of the public politician. When Formula One entered the hybrid era, Mercedes became the dominant force. But the Red Bull team principal had something Mercedes didn't: a flair for media warfare. The rivalry between Christian Horner and Toto Wolff became one of the defining storylines of the sport. Rarely had two team principals clashed with such intensity, such strategy, and such theatrical spectacle. Horner used interviews, press briefings, and even the Netflix series Drive to Survive as weapons. He understood that narrative could shift performance, influence steward decisions, and unsettle rivals. He attacked Mercedes' dominance. He defended Red Bull's philosophy. He pushed the FIA. He pushed the media. He pushed the narrative. In these years, Christian Horner didn't just manage Red Bull, he became the public shield for the entire organization. That role made him powerful, but also made him vulnerable. Because once you become the face of the empire, you also become its easiest target. The scandal and the fall. By the mid-2020s, Red Bull Racing had returned to dominance, powered by Max Verstappen and Adrian Newey's technical brilliance. Horner, once again, was on top, but the internal storm of 2024 and 2025 changed everything. Accusations emerged, internal tensions exploded, corporate politics erupted. It became a crisis involving executives, board members, legal factions, and rival power structures. Though Horner was cleared twice, the scandal fractured the team from within. Adrian Newey's departure sent shockwaves through the paddock. Senior staff began to drift, and whispers grew louder. Maybe the master strategist had finally reached the limits of his political endurance. Ultimately, Red Bull chose to remove him, an exit that reportedly cost the team £80 million, making his dismissal one of the most expensive leadership changes in Formula One history. Christian Horner survived scandals, rivalries, internal wars, and 2 decades of corporate battles. But even the greatest strategist cannot outmaneuver the politics of his own empire forever. The legacy of the master strategist. Christian Horner built Red Bull Racing from an underdog team into a global titan. He redefined what a team principal could be, not just a manager, but a public figure, a tactician, a negotiator, and a political force. His story is one of ambition, brilliance, controversy, and survival. He won titles, he won battles, he won wars. But in the end, the same political arena that elevated him is what ultimately brought him down. Yet the final question remains: a man with this much ambition never truly disappears. So the real mystery isn't whether Christian Horner will return to Formula One, it's how. Subscribe to our channel for more content like this.